So, folks, there is a part of the federal government called the GSA, the General Services Administration. And one of the things that the GSA does is that it sells different government properties. And it's really interesting because, they have a non-core property list coming soon. We are identifying buildings and facilities that are not core to government operations or non-core properties for disposal, i.e., to be sold to private bidders. Selling ensures that taxpayer dollars are no longer spent on vacant or underutilized federal spaces. Disposing of these assets helps eliminate costly maintenance and allows us to reinvest in high quality work environments that support agency missions. Now, one thing you need to be aware of while we look at this is that they're currently firing federal workers en masse, and with the goal of not hiring them back, right? Like the main thing that they're doing here is they're going, we're going to fire tens of thousands of workers, and before the courts can actually respond, we're going to sell the buildings they work in so they literally can't return to work. It's honestly like a cartoonish Mr. Burns level businessman that's evil play. Like if you wrote this as like some kind of come to Jesus Christmas story in the Ebenezer Scrooge vein, your editor would turn you away and say, you have to rewrite this. It's too on the nose. It's too like cartoonishly evil, right? And one of the other things about this that you should know is that well, the people who are currently gutting the government, Doge, are incredibly incompetent and putting all of us at risk. And what do I mean by that? Well, here's some reporting from today from Wired. A sensitive complex housing a CIA facility was on GSA's list of U.S. properties for sale. They wanted to sell a building that literally still houses CIA assets and secrets to private buyers. A now deleted list containing hundreds of U.S. government properties that the General Services Administration plans to sell, includes most of a sprawling, highly sensitive federal complex in Springfield, Virginia, that also houses a secretive Central Intelligence Agency facility. The GSA's effort to sell hundreds of U.S. government properties is part of a blunt reshaping of the federal government, yada, yada, yada. You all know the tale here. But like, yeah, most of these properties, aside from one identified only as Building A6810, were labeled as either Butler or Franconia. According to public records, all of them are part of a large federal facility known as the Par Franconia Warehouse Complex, or the GSA Warehouse, which sits fenced in by a chain link topped with barbed wire at 6810 Loisdale Road in Springfield. Most of the buildings in the complex, which dates back to the early 1950s and is dominated by a 1,005,602 square foot warehouse long used as a government supply depot, are believed to have been used by various government agencies for mundane purposes. Right in the middle of the complex, though, next to the warehouse and kitty corner to what's listed as Transportation Security Administration headquarters, is a U-shaped building long notorious for its alleged ties to the CIA. Quote, obviously, someone did no research about the long and well-documented history of this property, said Jeff McKay, chair of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, and a longtime advocate for redeveloping the complex, which is near a metro station and sits in a prosperous area. Normally, a site like this wouldn't be outed, so to speak, but everyone knows it's here except apparently the people who put this list together. Literally, like, everyone in the area is like, oh yeah, that's the CIA black site near here. Yeah. Oh, you mean they're trying to sell the CIA black site? That's crazy. Anyway, like they are literally so incompetent, they don't even know the secrets that they're supposed to know. And guys, as much as I despise the CIA, I do not want CIA assets sold off to private corporations. Like, I want that even less somehow, you know? Like, good golly. Good golly. OBS is doing something weird with screen scaling. Well, it's probably just not scaled properly on my end. This probably makes it a bit easier. But yeah. Yeah. Just something to be aware of. Okay, I guess if you are in the market for any former CIA assets that may inadvertently be sold, I guess the Government Services Administration is putting it up for auction. So, that go knock yourselves out, kids. Maybe you too can buy a local CIA black site for $1 on the auction block. The text is now legible but a bit wonky. I don't know how it's a bit wonky, guys. I don't when you say it's wonky, I don't know how that fix it. So I don't know what that means. So yeah. If it looks wonky on the screen, it's because I scaled it up. Um that being said, we have to talk about another series of cuts. Um so as we all know, the Department of Defense is currently headed by Pete Hegseth and is being interfered with by Doge. And the Pentagon is now apparently trying to cut 75% of the workforce that maintains and stops the proliferation of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. And I'm not even joking about that. The teams of people dedicated here in the United States to making sure other countries don't have biological weapons that we're making, or chemical weapons that we've made, or nuclear weapons that we've developed. They're being cut by up to 75%. This is coming again, reporting from Wired here. um I genuinely, I don't know what to say about this because it's just kind of blatantly terrible. Um yeah, according to a draft working paper provided to Wired, the Department of Defense is asking all its agencies and services that conduct security cooperation programs to consider the impact if the Pentagon were to realign its funding. The authors of the paper warned that the cuts could hobble the fight against organized crime in South America, impair the battle against the Islamic State, increase the likelihood of a rogue state producing and using chemical weapons, and defund pandemic surveillance measures. Because, guys, hey, you want to know what the reason they're trying to cut this is because they're trying to cut anything where we are working in cooperation with other countries. They're trying to isolate America from the rest of the world. It is rabid isolationism so that they can do their looting in peace without any outside interference. That's kind of the name of the game here in particular. And why? Well, I've been asking that too, and there's actually a really great piece here um, from Adam Bonica, who writes a Substack called on Data and Democracy. And he wrote a piece called "What's the Matter with Billionaires?" And it's a really great piece because the central premise of it is that under Democrats, billionaires actually make more money. So the question then becomes why are they supporting Republicans when they make less money under Republicans? And the answer that Adam Bonica kind of comes to is that over time, there has been a decoupling from the idea that one should grow the entire economic pie in order to, again, disproportionately benefit billionaires. And there's been a decoupling of like billionaire interests from growing that overall pie. And instead, what they're looking to do is to lock down their own wealth, get those tax cuts, even if it comes at the expense of the greater whole, right? And this has kind of been in a cycle where Democrats get elected, billionaires grow their wealth, they grow the economic pie grows, and then Republicans get elected, and billionaires hunker down to keep their piece of the pie, and therefore, when the next growing season, as it were, comes around, they have an even bigger proportional chunk of the pie. It grows their, you know, if you can call it like a measure of power, it grows it in real terms. Yeah, consolidates their positions and makes them more powerful in proportion to the whole, if that makes sense. And at a certain point, that's destructive to everyone. It's not just pendulum motion, because pendulum motion would remain relatively static. What ends up happening is so much power and so much wealth becomes consolidated, which is what we're seeing now, that they are able to topple the system, or at least try and make it topple. And yeah, what is happening is the power consolidation has reached a tipping point, and what billionaires as a class are now trying to do is, well, the best way to manage this would simply be to not have the democratic system at all, to simply dictate what happens. Like some kind of elite group of oligarchs or dictators. I don't know. Whatever label you want to put on it. But to them, the proliferation of chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons isn't a real threat to them, or at least they don't perceive it as a real enough threat to prioritize, right? Because that's a threat that comes at the expense of, working people. Yeah, Dragonfly is correct. This is basically endgame neoliberal capitalism. We have reached, we've reached the end state of capitalism, and it is now trying to eat all of us alive. That is what is happening here. Like there's really no other way to analyze this when the world's richest man is literally shadow presidenting us into oblivion. So that's kind of where we're at. As they're also trying to wait, what do you mean that doesn't quite work? Yeah, of course they're trying to stick their dicks into other elections. They want to control the political outcomes so they can control the economic outcomes in those other countries. It's not complicated here. The issue is that, like, if one for a lot of people who have grown up with capitalist propaganda their entire lives, they believe, these people just want money, and it's not that they just want money. We have empirical data that shows if they just wanted money, they like which political party, what political priorities they would back. And it's not just that they want money. It's not just that they want power. They want all the money and all the power. And they want to destroy democracy and other political systems that get between them and that money and power. So that's kind of it. That's kind of where we're at. If you're sitting there wondering, like, why are they cutting all of these programs to stop weapons from proliferating that could kill millions? Because they don't care if millions of people die, as long as they increase their portion of the pie, as long as they, are able to dictate the systems under which other people exist. That's what's going on here. All right. Is this hopium? No. I as I said earlier, this is the wow, this is some bullshit part of the stream. I think it helps us to understand the bullshit we're mired in before we get into the hopium, okay? But yeah, that's kind of where we're at. One of the interesting things about this Adam Bonica piece is this right here. Analyzed over 40 years of Forbes 400 data and found a striking pattern. Billionaire wealth grows significantly faster under Democratic administrations, around 57.1% average growth compared to Republican ones of 16.5%. On average, under Democrats, they're literally making almost 60% year over year. That's insane. And that amount of accumulation is not sustainable. At some point, the entire system breaks, and that's the point we've reached. So, if you're wondering why these billionaires are trying to fuck all of us, that's why. They want the power. They want to build their little fiefdoms in Greenland, and now in America. They've been running their pilot projects in, San Francisco and, other places around the country. Their little company towns. And they think they're ready to manage a country. And as we're seeing, again, from the first part of this story where, their attempts to privatize a CIA site backfired spectacularly, they genuinely have no idea how to run a town, let alone a country. And in that incompetence, we have an advantage, and it's one that we should utilize to the greatest possible degree to mobilize each other and our communities in order to fight back against them. Because honestly, this level of incompetence is obvious not just to lefties like myself, lefty socialists like myself. It's obvious to liberals. It's obvious to, middle of the road libertarians. It's obvious to Republicans. It's obvious to MAGA. It's literally obvious to everyone. And there is a utility in that to us organizing folks against this fascist regime. So, with that, we finished the first part of That's Some Bullshit, isn't it? Yeah, maybe we should do something about that, guys. Maybe we should organize and protest and pressure our elected politicians about it. Who knows? Maybe we should join our local DSAs and our local Democrats, radicalize them, and protest the fuck out of these absolutely wienerless ghouls. Just a thought.
Riverboat deck is coming to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.